Hi guys, nutnfancy here. In this review I'm going to talk about the Cold Steel Recon Scout. This is an older version, probably about 4 years old. They have superseded it with a different version with newer and different steel, not necessarily better. Welcome to Cold Steel. But this is the version I have and I'll talk to it, and because I have a lot of experience with this particular knife. Now let's talk about category. You know I'm big on that. This is not like a daily use knife. This is a combat / survival knife where you've accepted the extra weight it represents in order to get extra capability. Shelter building, fire making, defensive use against people or critters, whatever. This knife will fill the bill. It is heavier though, and you said yourself, I'm willing to carry that weight, which I do. And in the terms of combat survival knives, there's good weight and there's bad weight. Bad weight means that I don't really gain any more in capability, but I gain a lot more in ounces, maybe even pounds, for my tools that I'm going to use in the out of doors. I'll talk more about that in future videos, but keep in mind there's good weight and there's bad weight. The Cold Steel Recon Scout actually represents, in my opinion, probably the best balance of good weight there is. It has a lot of capability. It can split right through logs. It can chop trees if you need to. And if you go a larger size, which I have in my collection, the Trailmaster, it represents all the same great benefits, but it is heavier. This knife as it sits is 19.7 ounces in this form, and that is kind of heavy, but it represents a lot of capability as well, which I'll talk about. Let's get moving. First off, the sheath. I love non-leather sheaths, specifically if they're made right out of kydex or plastic. I don't really care which one. All I want is a sheath that can attach and hold firmly, quick attach by the way, and also that will not retain water, especially with a non-rust resistant blade like this one is. So this is Cold Steel's what they call a Secure X sheath. It's a plastic, and I like it a lot. I think it functions perfectly. I've banged this one around a lot. It's never failed on me, even in sub-zero temperatures. Never cracked on me. I've dropped it, stepped on it, lost it in the snow, refound it in the snow. It's great. Has a 2-screw attachment for the nylon carrier on the back. Nylon carrier is quick release. Like I said, I love that. It attaches easily and with a snap. Be advised though, this attachment method and all Velcro in snowy conditions will get packed up with water and freeze and become non-functional if you're not careful. And therefore the button actually could be the only way you could attach this. So if you go into snowy conditions, which I have several times with this knife, be advised Velcro can be a very bad thing. Overall though, sheath nicely executed. Good job, Cold Steel. Let's look at the knife itself. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there probably have some really high-end survival knives. By the way, this is my used and much beloved Recon Scout. You can see it's battle worn, as all good combat survival knives eventually should be. However, like I was saying, you guys got a lot of good knives out there. There's Busey knives, you got Swamp Rat. Those are all excellent knives, and I have nothing bad to say about them. However, they're very expensive knives. The reason the Cold Steel Recon Scout is so awesome is because it delivers the same type of cutting performance, in my opinion, at a much lower price point. Specifically, I paid 90 bucks for this knife. Now, even a Swamp Rat, when they were making them in the versions I wanted, I was looking at $2 to buy one of those. You go to Dave Busey knife, you're talking $3 and on up, so it's expensive. Do you need to go that high to get the kind of utility that I'm talking about in a combat survival knife? I submit to you that you don't, because I've proven that this blade can pretty much hang out in the woods and do what you need it to do. So let's start by talking about the blade. This Cold Steel Recon Scout is made out of 1095, they call it carbon 5 steel, but it's 1095 steel. A non-rust resistant steel, but adequately hard, easy enough to sharpen in the field. I have had this one reprofiled. You can see my grind on that edge is totally not stock, as I do on many of my knives. That's because I want it razor sharp. I want to be able to cut easily through everything, and I find that I don't really lose much in wood cutting performance by doing that. At least not in this particular steel. I will talk about a fall niven knife later on that, yeah, I do lose a little bit in that. But anyways, this Blade is a great shape. It's a bowie shape. Not much needs to be said about that. I've discussed that many times in my videos. I love the shape. It's very functional. Has a long unsharpened clip as it comes from Cold Steel. If you plan on using this as primarily a combat knife, which I say go for it, I would definitely sharpen this. My purpose for this particular blade is primarily survival, and therefore I don't mind to have it unsharpened. In fact, I prefer to have it unsharpened, because I'm hammering on the top of that sucker with a big old log. I don't need that sharpened. So, edge retention on this blade has been adequate. I wouldn't term it outstanding. It's not. And any time I hear a claim, yeah, I chopped through 35 2x4s and my blade is still shaving sharp, I'm always dubious of that stuff. In my experience with a whole bunch of different blades, I never find that to be the case. Your blade will take a pounding as you use it the way I use them in the woods, and you definitely won't have it shaving sharp. Will it be adequately sharp? You bet. And this one serves its purpose. Easy enough to sharpen the field. I can probably split 2 hours with this going through logs. Actually longer than that. I can split a whole trip long without having to sharpen it. But when I get back from that trip, this edge needs some work. There's no two ways about it. So it's adequately hard, tough. And let me put an asterisk near that tough. A buddy of mine, his Recon Scout, we were doing an Arctic camp out. It was about 10 below zero. He was batoning his Recon Scout through some wood, and the hilt broke right here. Snapped right off. In fact, I was just, as he was pounding through it, I said, oh man, that knife's going to last you forever. That's heirloom quality. Snap, broke off just as I said that. It's pretty embarrassing. He was pissed. Anyways, he could have had a defect here in the hilt, maybe had a stress fracture, some type of anomaly there in the handle, don't know. But it did break. Cold Steel did replace it after some cajoling, and he was on the road again with a brand new Recon Scout. Now, they tout this knife as a tough combat survival knife. It should be able to baton through wood. I totally believe that, even today. So I have no qualms at all about pounding my blade through wood. Not hitting it with other steel though. Anyways, his broke. Mine, however, has never broken. It has seen many trips, both in the summer and in Arctic conditions. I've pounded this rather vigorously, and it's still serving well. So, that being said, 1095 is a good steel. It's not perfect, just like any knife. It could fail on you, but I still trust a Recon Scout. That being said, though, if I go into some remote conditions, I make sure my buddy's got a combat survival knife with him, whatever it is, Recon Scout or whatever, to back it up in case it does. So that's the blade. Here's the guard, nice, thick, won't let your hand slide forward. If you're using a piercing attack or whatever, you're not going to have to worry about your hand slipping forward. Could actually serve as a blade catch, heaven forbid, if you ever get in a knife-to-knife fight. Hope you never do, hope I never do. But anyways, it would serve that purpose. I think it's pot metal, though. I don't think it's like super strong, so it could break on you. Full hilt design, which is nice. It's strong. Has a Kraton grip on it, which I like. It's long enough. It's not super short. Nicely done. Feels good. And also it provides some cushion to you when you are indeed pounding this thing through wood, batoning. Look for my other videos on this, by the way. But the Kraton does serve a purpose as a shock absorber. I like that. The downside on Kraton is under vigorous or hard use, it will wear away. Someday you may have to replace that. Also, it's a magnet for all kinds of sap. Mine, after a trip, is covered with sap and dirt, and I have to spend some time with Goo Gone to clean it off. Has a lanyard hole. At one time it did have a lanyard through it. I find I really don't need it, nor would you, I think, unless you're in combat somehow. But I don't. So, good job on the handle. Good job on the guard. Blade's really nice. Love it. At a $90 price point, the Recon Scout's outstanding. One thing I did not mention, very critical into my praise of the Recon Scout, and that's its thickness. It's 5/16 of an inch thick, and it functions as an outstanding chisel through wood, more so than almost any other blade I've ever used, except for its bigger brother, the Trailmaster. This thing splits wood like a Banshee. That's because that flat grind up to that 5/16 inch spine really serves as a nice chisel to move it through wood. Keep your blade lubed up with WD-40 when you do that, otherwise sap's going to slow you down. You're not going to split that great. So in summary, as usual, I've run out of time. Cold Steel Recon Scout is an outstanding knife for the value. I don't know much about the new one in 1080 steel, but still the price point is right. I would definitely add it to my collection if you proclaim yourself to be an outdoorsman. You should have a knife like this, or one that serves the same purpose in your collection. And anyone who doesn't, I would really doubt that they're an outdoorsman. Great knife. Get it. Nutnfancy out.